Hey friends, it's Celine, and today I thought I'd take you along to see how I use a lot of my freeze-dried and dehydrated foods, the ones that I make here at home. I'm going to make some homemade turkey soup. So come on along and I'll show you how it's done with all of the things that I've home preserved, and maybe it will instill a desire for you to try it, or to step out and use some of the things that you've already preserved but not really sure how to use them. So come on, let's do this thing. So here I have already opened a couple of quarts of my homemade chicken soup. I forgot to show that. And I added some water to it, and to make it stretch, I'm adding some of these Knorr chicken bouillon. I really like them, however, they are not healthy. They do have MSG, they don't have as much salt, and I am making 2 pots, one for me and one for the rest of my family, my daughter and her kids as well. I am using low-carb noodles in mine and rice in theirs. As a diabetic and living a low-carb lifestyle, I have to be really careful, so I have to use low-carb things. So these bouillon cubes are larger than normal bouillon cubes, and as you can see, they are very soft and real crumbly. They have less salt in them and more chicken fat, and that is why I like them best. They have the best chicken flavor because of that chicken fat, and I like mine really rich. And so because this does not add a tremendous amount of salt, I'm able to make it really rich without making it really salty. I really watered down my chicken stock. I probably should have just not wasted it to start with, but I used it, not thinking it was going to take me farther, but it didn't. So anyway, that's okay. So I've used quite a few of those, and I got to tell you though, the broth in this, using those Knorr bouillon cubes, is delicious. I'm not as fond of the beef as I am of the chicken. I think the beef is a little saltier. The chicken they're able to hold together in those little squares in shapes with the fat a lot better, and they don't use as much fat in the beef. So that's my take on those, but again, they're not terribly healthy. I try to eat healthy and cook healthy, but I would say if you were looking at percentages, we're probably looking at 80-20, 80% healthy and made from scratch, homemade, and 20% easy and maybe not so healthy. So I'm giving this a good stir. And I was saying my homemade chicken stock, I meant my homemade turkey stock. So now I am going to be adding turkey that I picked off the bone whenever I made this stock. And that's what I had left that I didn't can or cook with. And so that was what I picked off the bones before I made the chicken stock. And that's not enough meat for me. I like a nice meaty soup. So I am going to be adding some of the freeze-dried turkey that I made a while back. That's what I've got left of it. And it just came out beautiful. I mean, really, really nice. And it rehydrates, really well. I really like freeze-dried foods, for the most part. There are a few of them I don't care for the texture of, but for the most part, I really like it. It's very convenient, really easy to use. I have so many freeze-dried and dehydrated things in my pantry that I use every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't use something that I have freeze-dried or dehydrated. And so, as you can see, this is just super, super easy. And that's what this video is all about, is to show you how easy it is to use the things that I've put up, whether I've canned it, whether I've dehydrated it, or freeze-dried it. It's all wonderful to have on hand, and it makes, you know, it's convenient food. I mean, we talk about fast food and convenient foods, convenience foods coming from, like, you know, McDonald's or, you know, wherever. And that's all terribly unhealthy and darned expensive too. It's gotten really expensive. So here are some freeze-dried carrots. Now these carrots I did not freeze-dry. These carrots I purchased because I like the tiny little diced pieces. I like the way they come out that way. Mine don't come out that way. Well, they probably would if I took the time to cut them in teeny tiny little pieces like that, but I'm not doing that. So these go a long way. So a can of these, I get them from Thrive Life, and a can of these go, gosh, I probably only use 1 can a year, and I use carrots a lot. So they go a long, long way. Might as well finish it. Okay, so next I'm adding some of my dehydrated mushrooms. I prefer dehydrated over freeze-dried. I've done them both ways, and I think freeze-dried comes out a little spongy. To be very honest, I think dehydrated comes out a little tough, but I like the consistency of them much better. And I normally kind of crumble them up, and when you crumble them up and rehydrate them this way, because the pieces are small, you don't notice they're tough. The whole slices are what I notice are tough. But the flavor and the fragrance of these dehydrated mushrooms is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I use these things all the time. I put mushrooms in things that I normally wouldn't because they're so simple. And this is dehydrated celery. Again, I prefer dehydrated over freeze-dried in this as well, because I also think they come out spongy. Kind of like styrofoam, and then whenever, not styrofoam, but like Cheetos, and imagine when you wet Cheetos, they just get kind of, you know, spongy, kind of weird. And then these are freeze-dried onions, both white and red. I adore these things. I use these things in everything. I think last year I freeze-dried about 60, somewhere between 60 and 80 pounds of onions. And I have several jars left, but not a tremendous amount, so I'll do the same this year. And then this is celery flake. And all that is the celery tops, the leaves to the celery tops. I freeze-dried those. You know, that might be dehydrated, but I do both. I prefer freeze-dried simply because they don't turn kind of brownish, but they taste the same. And these are freeze-dried green onions. And I just kind of give those a little crumble when I put them in, just because I left them in big chunks. This is my house seasoning that I use in absolutely everything. And all it is steak seasoning. Like, I get mine from Aldi's, but you can get it from anywhere. Steak seasoning, onion powder, garlic powder, throw it in a spice grinder, and I use that on absolutely everything. Now this is store-bought parsley because I just have never had any luck growing parsley for some reason, so I don't get most of it from homegrown. This is just another spice. It's called, I can't remember what it's called, and I can't read it. But I get that from Aldi's. It's table seasoning or something like that. And it's just a mixture of it's all no salt, and I use that in quite a few different things. And it's got a pretty good flavor. And it looks like it's a little stuck. Sometimes I use that, sometimes I don't. Now we're looking at garlic powder. And that I got in bulk from Azure Standard. I have just grown garlic just this year, and it did not do well at all. So I'm going to be buying garlic powder again for a while. We'll try it again next year. And then this is onion powder, just to give it a little extra kick. I know I added a bunch of onions in there, but I like a flavorful soup. And this is poultry seasoning, and it's got, you know, lots of different things: sage, thyme, marjoram, all different kinds of things in it. And so I just throw a little bit of that in there. It's ground really fine. It adds a lot to any kind of poultry. Now I'm adding a little bit of my lemon thyme to this. I did grow this, and it smells so good. That lemony flavor is just so good in any kind of poultry dish or pork dish or just about anything you can think of. I have two different kinds of thyme, but I like that lemon thyme in poultry. And this is my homegrown rosemary. I also grind that in a spice grinder. I don't powder it, but I chunk it up pretty small because I do not like biting into a rosemary leaf. And when I say leaf, I mean a little, you know, the little spiky things, those are leaves. And yep, that was hot. So let's give this a little stir, get it all mixed in together. And then we're going to need to just cook this for a while. So I let this simmer for about 20 minutes, and then I came back and added my carbonara noodles to the one in the pink, and rice, just plain white jasmine rice, to the big pot. And somehow I did not video that. So anyway, this is just going to have to cook for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. Just depends on how much you want the juices to be absorbed. And then it's time to serve them. I started making chicken and rice soup in my early 20s and quickly perfected it to the point that my whole extended family expects turkey and rice soup around Thanksgiving. And they provide all kinds of turkey carcasses for me to pick clean and make stock and soup from. So that's it, and it's delicious. It really is one of my very favorite soups. It is so flavorful, and it's so much fun to be able to make out of home-canned, freeze-dried, dehydrated foods. And it's really a hearty soup. Now, I have since started making this with the carbonara noodles because they are very low in carbs and don't make my blood sugar spike. So I have been using, making two separate soups and making mine with noodles, although I got to be honest, it's very good, but I love the turkey and rice soup. But these are really good. I'll put a link to the carbonara noodles in the description. So that's it, y'all. 2 ways to make turkey soup. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. God bless.